The reason we're doing this is I don't know if you're like me, but my Twitter feed is bombarded with weather stuff right now.
Yeah.
Specifically what we're looking at on the graphic behind us.
A little something going on. I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of model runs that are saying parts of the country that don't normally see a lot of snow could see a lot of snow.
Yes.
Explain to me what we're looking at this moment, and explain to me also, how is that even possible?
Yeah, okay, so it's, again, it takes a combination of things to produce weather, obviously. You have to have the storm system, you have to have the cold and everything's kind of coming together for the southern plains to really get hammered by this. And it's kind of a two-step process. First of all, we've been talking about the cold air that's coming in. So we've got this just amazing push of cold air that's diving all the way down to the south, basically down into the Gulf Coast area. At the same time, low pressure is developing out in the southwest part of the country. Now, typically, that's what heads our way. Goes up, into the central plains and produces a big storm for us. Well, because that cold air is so massive, it's going to keep the path of that storm south. So instead of going, up here into the central plains, it's going to head basically east. And with the cold air in place, it's going to be a real mess.
It sounds like it. And talking to you, you're the expert here. I just fill in when everybody else is sick and on vacation. But you don't really trust model runs a distance out.
No.
But if I'm correct, the closer and closer you get to the actual date of the storm, if they are continually being consistent and agreeing with each other, that's when you start going, uh-oh.
Yeah, and that's the whole process of it. And that's why we always say, we talk about those clickbait sites, 2 weeks ahead of time, they're throwing these things out there. It's a process of putting a forecast together. You're looking at all this data that's coming in. You're seeing where the consistency is, where the variance is. And right now, everything points towards this being a major winter storm. So, what's behind us right now, this is a winter storm watch from New Mexico all the way almost to the East Coast.
Wow.
Okay? And the consensus is there is going to be a significant amount of wintry precip across the southern plains. The questions right now are the northern and southern extent of it, where it settles in, and that's going to be very dependent on where the frontal boundary ends up and where exactly that cold air, just how far south it makes it. That's really the only question mark right now, is the north and southern extent of it, because this, by all accounts, looks to be a major problem down south.
One of the things I've seen a lot of is the numbers. I mean, I've seen a lot of thoughts of a foot and a half, say in Arkansas, and similar numbers in Virginia. How does it have that much moisture?
Well, again, moisture is actually not the problem.
Okay.
We have the Gulf down there. Moisture's never a problem in the southeast part of the country.
Okay.
They always have all the humidity and whatnot in the summer and everything, so moisture's not the problem. The problem, getting snow that far south is getting the cold air that far south, which is what's going to happen. So as that low is developing, it's going to help pull up moisture from the south to fuel this system. Now, the one thing where it gets interesting with totals, I'm going to switch the graphics here to give you an idea of what we're looking at, because what you see here is the pink is freezing rain. It's not just snow. This is snow and ice potential. There could be crippling amounts of ice in the southern plains. And where this transition ends up, so where that transition between snow and ice, that's really the big question mark. Now, one thing to keep in mind with snow totals is when you have a setup like this, where it is a transition, where you've got the potential for freezing rain and snow. Now, a lot of times models can struggle with that and end up on the high side of things because some of that falls as ice before it changes to snow. But right now, all the indications are, there could be a couple of inches of ice in the southern plains right now, and then you get north of that, and you're talking portions of Oklahoma and Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee. It could be easily a foot, 2 feet of snow in some of the higher elevations, especially you get over towards Kentucky and Tennessee like that. It just looks to be a giant mess.
I mean, here in Nebraska, I remember, I think it was 2016, we had a foot and a half at the television station in Axtell. So, Nebraska knows its way around snow. Quite frankly, if you get up into like Pennsylvania and Ohio, they know their way around snow.
Yeah.
You start getting, though, down into Tennessee and Virginia and Arkansas.
No. You get far enough south, this is something, an inch to 2 inches of snow, they don't like to drive around in.
Sure.
This is going to have it looks to have the potential for just a crippling effect on the power grid, let alone transportation and trying to get around and things like that. No, this would be a lot of snow for us. And we get a lot of snow from time to time. It's been a while. But for them, this is, I don't want to say unprecedented because it does happen occasionally, but not very often. It's going to be a big problem.
And roughly, when do we see this actually happening?
It's going to start to develop on Friday.
Okay.
And then it'll last all the way through Sunday. And so what it is, and Chris actually was asking me about this earlier, how can it be from all the way from, New Mexico to Virginia?
Sure.
That's the progression of the storm system. So it starts, Texas, New Mexico on Friday, and it's going to be moving east. And so eventually all that wintry precip moves east. So over the course of the time, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's just going to dump wintry precip all the way to the East Coast.
And one of the things we've talked about off camera before is snow is the most difficult thing to predict, especially the amounts. I mean, you may know it's going to snow, but from what scale? With this, the numbers seem to keep lining up. So we don't know an exact necessarily, but it's probably going to be a lot.
Yeah, it looks to be a lot. And the thing you have to remember is we have snow chances further north as well. But the colder the temp gets, the higher the ratio gets. What I mean by that is that's that fine snow. The higher the ratio, the more moisture it takes to try to get the snow going, and you don't have a lot to work with. So you get that really fine blowing snow. That's what we're going to see. But down to the south, it's going to be a much more wet snow, which is a heavy snow, sags on the power lines, the tree limbs, and things like that, because they will have more moisture to work with. So yeah, we're going to get impacted by this, and we're probably going to see some accumulations, but ours will be a very low moisture content snow, which doesn't do any good. Nobody likes that. But the further south you go, it's, again, not just the fact there's going to be a lot of snow. It could be a heavy, wet snow that really could cause issues.
My goodness. Well, Tim, I appreciate you taking a few minutes because I needed to know this, let alone folks at home, because you may have, you may not be going there, but you have relatives, friends.
Go there.
Yeah, don't go there. But you have people there. You give them a call, have them watch Tim because Tim knows what he's talking about.
Have them watch their local meteorologist.
Yeah, too.
They're going to know better than me.
That's true. But no, I mean, great information, great detail about how this really works.
Yeah.